Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Thought Leadership Forum celebrating International Women in Engineering Day. My name is Leanne Daines, Marketing and Business Development Coordinator at Zeeco Europe, and I will be your host and moderator for today's discussion. While I'm broadcasting to you from beautiful Stamford in Rutland in the UK, I am joined by a fantastic panel of female engineers from various engineering roles in Zeeco locations worldwide. Before we dive in and meet our panelists, I'd like to take a moment to thank you all for joining us. Whether you're a student looking to enter the field of engineering, an engineer with a wealth of industry knowledge, or simply dropping by out of curiosity, we are very glad to have you. We created the Thought Leadership Forum to break from the repetitive nature of a traditional webinar and instead answer your burning questions in a more casual and enjoyable environment. In doing so, we strive not only to share knowledge and unique perspectives, but also to encourage discussions outside the forum. If you have a question for our panelists, want to provide feedback, or suggest a topic for a future Zeeco Thought Leadership Forum, we invite you to fill out the form on our landing page. Now, that's enough out of me. Let's meet some of the incredible women shaping our industry through engineering. I'm going to start with Sydney Levine, Midstream and End User Business Manager for our Thermal Oxidizers Department at Zeeco headquarters. Sydney, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Thank you so much, Leanne. Well, I started at Zeeco as an intern and then began working full-time after graduating from Oklahoma State University with my engineering degree. I've held a couple of different roles here at Zeeco, all within the thermal oxidizer department, but I've been a project engineer, applications engineer, and also specialized in midstream and domestic end user and retrofit opportunities. So it's been a lot of fun so far. I am married with one son who's almost 2. We have a dog, a cat, 2 donkeys, and a horse at home. So
Wow.
we're very busy.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sydney. Next up is Nikki Ebert, Senior Applications Engineer in our Flare Group at Zeeco headquarters. Nikki, thank you very much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Leanne. I'm Nikki. I attended Oklahoma State University and graduated with a degree in chemical engineering. Like Sydney, I interned at Zeeco as well prior to graduating, and I've worked as a full-time engineer in the Flare Applications Group for 13 years. Fun fact, during my time at Zeeco, I've been able to visit 17 countries, so that's exciting. I'm also married. My husband also works in chemistry in a way. He brews beer at a local brewery, and we have 2 dog babies, no human babies as of yet.
Great, thank you very much, Nikki. Next, we have Gayla Brewston, a senior process engineer who is also in our Flare Group at Zeeco headquarters. Gayla, can you tell us about yourself?
Sure, thank you. As Leanne said, I'm Gayla Brewston. I also graduated from Oklahoma State University. We have a lot of OSU grads here, so but my graduation was a little bit earlier than theirs. I've been out of college about 29 years now, so I have about 12 years of experience at Zeeco. Right now I'm in the Flare division. I've done burners and vapor control. I've raised 2 children who are both adults now, and I replaced them with 2 fur babies. I have 2 dogs who are now my babies, but
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Gayla, and thank you very much for joining us. Next up is Luigia Romano, a project engineer in our Flares group at Zeeco Italy. Luigia, can you tell us a bit about you?
Yes, sure. I am Luigia, project engineer for fresh system products here at Zeeco Italy. I did classical studies, which helped me to understand my real passion because during high school I met some of the professors who made me passionate about chemistry, maths, and physics. So it was almost obvious to undertake studies in chemical engineering. I took a bachelor's and master's degree in chemical engineering in Naples, and I worked for a research institute for a short period of time, and then I moved to northern Italy to enter the combustion world. Indeed, I've been a sales engineer for a few years for Fivitas, and I was a sales engineer for incinerators and process partners, supporting also the process team. And last but not least, I joined Zeeco here in Italy as a project engineer on another interesting product like the fresh system.
Thank you very much, Luigia. And last but most certainly not least, we have Andrea Dominguez, a quality engineer at Zeeco headquarters. Andrea, tell us a little bit about yourself. Andrea, you're muted.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea, and I'm a quality engineer here at the headquarters office. I graduated at the University of Arkansas back in 2018, and I started working full-time at Zeeco at the quality department. And a little bit about myself. I have a fiance. I'm going to get married in a few days, actually, in July 3rd. So that's exciting. And I really enjoy working at Zeeco because in the quality department, we get to work with all the product groups. So I work with Nikki, I work with Sydney. I haven't worked with Rija yet or Kayla, but I'm excited to be here.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And it's great to have you all with us. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk through your journey to becoming an engineer and your experiences in the combustion industry. And with that, I will come to you first, Sydney, to ask how you knew you wanted to get into engineering.
Well, that's funny. I didn't know I wanted to pursue engineering as my career. I really planned to go to school to be a veterinarian, but I started getting scholarships to declare engineering as my major. So I thought, well, I'll just get an engineering degree and then go on to vet school after that. Maybe that will set me apart. But I interned at Zeeco during that process and loved it. I loved the challenges. I loved the travel. And I thought, shoot, well, I'll just try this until I get bored, and I have not been bored since. So that's kind of how my journey to engineering started.
Wow, that's a fascinating journey, and you pretty much switched your career path entirely during school. I'm curious about the college experiences of our other panelists. Gayla, Luigi, we heard about Sydney's college experience. Do you mind telling us about yours?
Sure. Like I said, I went to Oklahoma State University. I started out as an engineer, although I really knew nothing about engineering going into it. I just knew I liked math and science, and I had a very good college experience. At the time, I'm a mechanical engineer, and at the time I think there were less than 5% of us that were females. But I never I was never made to feel that I was any less than any of the male students. The only downside of that was when you're in a class with 50 people and you're the only female, your professor notices when you're not there and will call you out on it. But no, I had a great experience at college. My professors were great. Got to know them by engineering is a very difficult, just a very rigorous major. So I spent a lot of time getting to know my professors in office hours because I would need assistance, and that really became a great pathway to success. And I would just encourage anyone going into engineering to seek out professors and get to know them because they want you to be successful.
Amazing.
I'll chime in on that as well. I had a great female professor, and at one point I did question, like, oh, maybe I should switch my major early on. And she was very adamant, like, you can do this. We need more women in engineering, and that was so encouraging. So I agree with Gayla, seek out help and advice. And it is nice to have those women professors too, because they've been through it as well.
That's great. That's really nice to have that. And yeah, definitely.
As
And
for
Luigi,
me,
did you?
yes, I would define my university experience as a positive and exciting, I have to say. When I chose to pursue chemical engineering studies after my classical studies, my mother and sister were a bit worried that it might be too hard. Surely they knew that I was able to do this kind of studies, but on the other hand, they feared that engineering could be a hard road for a woman. Despite this, the passion I had for this subject and the esteem of my professor, I have to say, made me think that I could do it. And also, I surely never thought that I had less opportunity than a man. So the university represented the first big change of my life because I got out of my comfort zone and I left my home to move to another city and built the first piece of my future, creating a relationship with flatmates, classmates, and also being involved in friendships with teams from all over the world. I don't know if I was just lucky, but I have never met in my university experience as well as in the workplace people who consider me differently just because I was a woman. Yes, sure, I still find a certain resistance when I try to talk about football or soccer for you with men, but likely not in my field. Anyway, I don't deny that there have been difficult times, honestly, but I've never considered the idea of giving up because despite the amount of work that sometimes seemed too much, I almost always managed to reach the goals I set myself. And overall, this sector have always excited me. Definitely I can say that the college transformed me from a young girl into a raw engineer. Unfortunately, I have to say also that women who decide to start engineering studies are still a minority compared to men. In fact, according to 2018 Eurostat statistic, the largest gap between men and women is precisely in the engineering sector. And I think this is the gap to overcome. We need more women studying scientific study the subjects to have more female engineers in the future. If we want to change the picture, we have to act in value chain, I think.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to hear about the ratio of male to female engineers. And obviously the field seems largely male dominated. The statistics Luigi mentioned relate to Europe, but this seems to be common in other areas as well. According to a study by the US Bureau of Labour Statistics in 2020, only 16% of engineers are women. What do you think the reason for this could be?
This may be because young girls may be just inadvertently steered towards fields dominated by women, by their peers or by their friends, or maybe they saw what their mom did as a career and they're like, oh, I'd love to do that. Maybe they're intimidated by fields just dominated by men. I think there are lots of reasons. And even thinking about motherhood, and raising a family, they may think, oh, well, if I'm a teacher, I can have summers off with my children, or a nurse, you could change your shifts around. Not saying that's makes it easier or harder, but I think maybe girls may take that into consideration when choosing a career path.
Yeah, and thinking about younger women looking to get into engineering, are there any barriers they should be aware of? If so, can you share any of your experiences and how you overcame those barriers?
Sure. So, in my experience, and I think this is probably true for the rest of us on this forum, that a major barrier we face as women in engineering is just being a minority, generally compared to our male colleagues and peers. So, I would encourage women that are interested in pursuing careers in STEM fields, or women who are already in industry, to, as we've mentioned previously, seek out other women that are in your field. So, this could be teaming up with other female classmates to work on homework assignments or a group project. This could be joining your local chapter of the Society of Women Engineers, or inviting a female coworker colleague for lunch or coffee, or even a happy hour date after work. I found that it's really helpful and encouraging to connect with other women who are going through these similar experiences to mine, and to help build each other up.
Yeah, that's some interesting insights, and thank you, Nikki. And with that in mind, ladies, is there anything you wish someone would have told you before getting into the industry in an engineering role in general?
I wish the people before getting into engineering rule would know that this sector is competitive and stressful, but at the same time stimulating. Here, the innovation, the ability to change are the key to create new opportunities for the future. In the engineering field, practice and theory meet every day and sometimes collide, but it is essential to understand that you must always find solution to problems. And I think problem solving is the main skill that an engineer should have. I think also the keystone of this profession is the ability to work in team, because different point of view are important to better understand and analyze each problem. I gesticulate, I'm Italian. The economy, I think also that the economy is maybe the most important factor. The primary goal of every business is to earn money, and to do so, we need to work respecting budget, time, and interests. So an engineer who starts this job should understand how important are time management and the ability to sum up all the inputs that come from the stakeholders. Furthermore, a person who enters this sector must know that the engineer is a citizen of the world who should collaborate with the customers, suppliers, and often colleagues, as in our case, from all over the globe. And this is true. This is particularly true today as never before, because the pandemic has shortened the virtual distance by forcing us to use new tools as Microsoft Teams that allow us to arrange meetings with the customers, suppliers from all over the world in a few hours. And so I think also, let me say that an engineer knows very well what the butterfly effect is. Just think of all the consequences of the COVID pandemic and in general the influence of the global geopolitical balances on our sector. This means that the engineering studies are certainly an excellent basis, but it is important to understand that it is a multidisciplinary job in which updating and continuous learning skills are essential for me.
Yeah, and I guess just to add on that, one thing that I didn't know or I didn't realize when I was in college is that engineering can be very hands-on. I guess when I was in college as a freshman, I was mostly thinking of, a scientist in an office or a lab doing experiments and things like that. But I guess the more experience I got doing internships, that's when I realized how very, very hands-on this can be. So I've had experience in like making aluminum wheels, makeup, food, and I guess finally combustion. And that's when I found my passion on the manufacturing side of it. And like Luija was saying that we have customers, we have our colleagues here, and we all work together to find a solution and meet our goal.
And one thing I wish that I would have known going into engineering is I thought when I started out that to be successful, I had to think and act more like a man than a woman, to fit in, to be taken seriously. And I've learned over time that, women have unique attributes that they bring to the table, and you shouldn't try to be a man, but you should be yourself and let those things that are unique to you contribute to, like Luigia says, the teams that you work on, because we do bring a unique perspective, a unique intuition that's valuable and just as valuable as anyone else's.
Most definitely, and that's great advice. And so we've talked about engineering in this broader sense, and I know that there are a ton of things that you can do with an engineering degree. I also know the combustion industry is a very niche market, and there are very few combustion engineers in the world. I assume that means that there are also very few female combustion engineers. So I'm curious to hear what interests you about the combustion industry in particular. Gayla, Andrea, do you want to weigh in on this?
Sure. I have to say that even growing up, I was fascinated with fire, campfires, fireworks. So the combustion industry, from that perspective, was a great fit for me because I find the subject fascinating. And what is fascinating to me about it is how something so simple, so basic, can be harnessed and used in so many different ways. And what we do here is figure out how to mold it, shape it with different techniques to get low emissions, to destroy volatile organic compounds more completely, but also reducing other emissions. And it's just really fascinating, all the aspects of it. That you can be involved in. And the other thing about it that I really enjoy is combustion is used in so many different industries. So when you're a combustion engineer, you're involved in the refining industry, production, petrochemical, power, pharmaceutical. There are just so many different industries where it's utilized that you get a very broad range of exposure to different industries.
Okay, and for me, I guess the thing that drew me to this industry will be the manufacturing part of it. So as a quality engineer, we interact with the shop a lot, but we also get to go to job sites every once in a while and see how our products are used. And like Gayla was saying, all the different applications from petrochemical industry, not only oil and gas or big customers that are in that industry, but even the food industry, hospitals, and buildings where all our burner equipment goes into. So for me, it's mostly the manufacturing side of it, and also all our global customers that we have and how we get to interact with them.
And Andrea, I know that you have a mentor here at Zeeco. Can you tell us about that? Has the mentorship played a role in your development or professional growth?
Yeah, so we have a program over here at Zeeco called Zeeco Young Professionals, CYP for sure. And Nikki Ever, she's been my mentor since I started here. And I mean, I think that's great, that they get to pair up, I guess, new engineers with someone who has experience, with someone who's been in your shoes, someone who knows what it is to be like the new person, be in this new industry. And I mean, it's great. She has good advice about how the company works, about customers, how we should kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like what to expect from certain customers. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I mean, that's great. Nikki has always given me good advice, and she's always a person that I can turn and talk to about a lot of things.
Well, I will say right back at you, Andrea. She also gives me great advice because I know very little to nothing about quality. So I just knowing I can come to her to ask a question or send her a spec to say, hey, can you look at this and let me know what on earth it says, how it applies to me, has been great. And just talking about life stuff, buying houses, getting married, all those milestones that happen outside of work too. And, how I've been through it, what she's going through has been really great.
And Nikki, I know that you've been with Zeeco for most of your career, and you've not only been a mentor to Andrea, but you've had the opportunity to work with women outside of Zeeco. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So a few years ago, obviously pre-COVID, when we were still traveling overseas, I had the opportunity to go to a bid clarification meeting with one of our customers that's located in Spain. And I was in charge of the quotation, so I was able to bring one of my younger female colleagues along with me for training and to see how the meeting was run, how to answer the questions and such. So that alone was exciting. Two women that are, we were around, I think I was around 30 at the time. She was probably 24, 25. So that was really exciting. And then we get to the meeting, show up at the customer's office, and the person leading the meeting, also a woman. So that was very exciting. And then a lot of the other people participating in the meeting from the customer side were women as well. So that just felt awesome. And then this past year, having transitioned everything to Teams, of course, during COVID, had another meeting, a bid clarification meeting virtually this time, of course, with the same customer. Turns out it was that same project manager I'd met previously, and her entire team for this project was all women as well. So that was really good to see. I mean, how rare is it, apart from this call, that you actually have a call that's all women?
Definitely, yeah, that's incredible. And I mean, talking of travel and traveling globally, I mean, working as an engineer for a global company like Zeeco keeps you very busy, and your projects may often require you to travel the world. And that said, I'm curious about your work-life balance as an engineer and the unique challenges that a female might face in this respect. Sydney and Gayla, I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure. So, working for a global company, there may be late meetings or international trips, but it's been my experience, you always get some notice, so you can keep things in order at home. And that's kind of the thrill of working for a global company, in my opinion. You get to meet all of these different people from different places in the world and really learn about the different cultures. So it's great. And also, if you have a really supportive family, friends, spouse at home, and also just work colleagues, it's really nice and makes it kind of easy to harmonize the lives because they kind of fold into one. We've had folks overseas for a longer period of time than what's typical, and we've offered to mow their lawn, or hey, do you need me to check on anything for you? So I think really just having a little bit of notice, which we typically always do, and having a great support system makes it definitely doable. It's really not a whole lot of problem.
Well, I've got to say I struggled. I struggled with this a lot after my children were born. It wasn't an issue until the children came along, because my husband also had a very demanding job that required a lot of hours. And I think it's up to the individual, but what I really had to do was sit down and think about my priorities. And one of my priorities was time spent with my children. For some people it may be less time, but quality time. To me, I wanted to have a volume of time, I guess is the way to say it. So I was able to, most of the time when my children were young, I worked part-time. And that was a great balance for me. And Zeeco was willing to work with me to do that, which was great. So, just set your priorities and try to work out the best situation that you can. And find a company that values family and time with family. That's also very important if you can find a company like that to work for. It's really important. And a company, like Sydney said, where your coworkers are going to support you and help you, and understand. Maybe there are times you can't travel. You've got commitments, and who will work with you. So, but my advice is to set your priorities.
Oh, and I'll just chime in on that. So Gayla was actually working part-time when I started full-time at Zeeco. And so it was very inspiring to see her balancing family and work, and just to know that that was really possible. So wanted to throw that out there.
Thanks.
And also, I think it kind of depends on what stage of life you're in. Because, right after school, you didn't have to really think deep and hard, at least I didn't, about your priorities because, I was not married and didn't have children. And each step of life brings different challenges, and your priorities may change. My son is very young, but maybe when he has lots of activities and I don't want to miss that, my priorities may change some. So I think it just varies throughout life too.
Right.
Yes.
Yes,
Definitely.
that's
Yeah,
good
really
advice.
important points. So I just want to touch back on something that Sydney mentioned earlier, in that working as an engineer for Zeeco also gives you the opportunity to work with people from all over the world and experience unique cultures and perspectives. What do you enjoy about that aspect of Zeeco? And is this something that you purposely sought out in a company? Luigi, Andrea, can you share some thoughts on this?
Yes, sure. Okay, in my opinion, if you improve diversity and inclusion in the workplace like Zeeco, you'll generally get a positive response in terms of business growth. A diverse workforce in age, race, religion, nationality, sexual orientation, and gender brings diverse viewpoints and perspective to the company. These elements can help you develop new ideas, goals, and different patterns to reach them. And gender balance is one of the drivers of diversity that has been proven to have a positive impact on business. Instead, regarding the nationality, for example, just think of how important it is for a global company to enhance the cultural differences inside the company and have a preferential channel with the local countries. It is important to understand that different people from different backgrounds and generations sometimes have also vastly different perspective on all sorts of issues. So it is not just important for individual employee or even a small team or department to understand thinking patterns. It's also important that they know and understand how other people and the company think. I think that this is really important. However, I have to say diverse workforce is just the first step. That's because diversity in the workplace does not necessarily mean inclusivity in the workplace. What is really important is creating a culture. And this is what I found in Zeeco, where people from all backgrounds and experiences feel really included. I think, for example, that this forum is a fantastic example of how to promote the culture of inclusion. And I conclude, I've read an interesting article related to this subject in which it was said that seeing is believing. If we don't see female engineers, we don't naturally associate women with this kind of job. So as a consequence, we apply different standards.
Yeah.
And I guess going back to having different people from different backgrounds and different cultures, I think that's also like a good challenge to have. It makes us open our mind to different people, different culture, be more flexible, and that's one thing that I really enjoy about working here at Zeeco, that we have colleagues all over the world, and all of us come together to solve problems. We learn from each other, and we also support each other to have a good culture, good company culture, and also keep growing our business.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And I would be really interested to hear your thoughts on ways women or men currently in engineering roles can help support other females in engineering careers. Nikki, I think you've had an experience that would be good for you to share here.
Yes. So as most of us know, when you go on a business trip and you have colleagues going with you, they're probably going to be male, especially if it's a very large project. You'll have some of the senior management go with you. So often you're the only woman on the trip. So on a particular trip I took a few years ago, this was for a very large project. So Zeeco's CEO, Darton Zink, was in attendance. We both happened to be awake on the plane working while our other colleagues were resting. And he took a moment just to say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Can I ask you, how you feel about working as a woman at Zeeco? Have you had any awkward or negative experiences? What can we as Zeeco do better with respect to women working within engineering roles in the future? So I was shook. I thought that was amazing. I really appreciated that he respected my opinion and wanted to ask how I was feeling and how things were going. And I think this shows that Zeeco, and I'm sure other companies, really value women within various roles.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And finally, what advice do you have for women in engineering or those aspiring to be an engineer? This can be advice for any woman at any point in her career. I'd be interested to know what advice you have.
Yeah, I'll go first. I would just tell them to not give up. Put the effort in up front. With school, especially, it takes a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort. And sometimes you see your friends having more free time, but I think, at least for me, it was worth the sacrifice, and it's been very rewarding in the end. And also, if you try engineering and you don't like it, it gives you a good platform to do something else. I mean, go to vet school or pharmacy school or be a lawyer, whatever you want to do. I think being an engineer, having an engineering degree won't hurt you in the long run. And just to kind of feedback on what everyone else has been saying, we need women engineers. We have a good perspective, and we bring something to the table. So I think it's definitely worth doing. If you're interested in it, give it a try. Put in that hard work up front.
And Andrea, do you have any thoughts on that? Any advice?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, like Sydney was saying, no, don't give up. There were like many times in my college career where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm just gonna switch my major to something easier. And but I mean, I'm glad I didn't. I found this company, and I've been having fun the past 3 years. I guess one piece of advice would be, if you're early on your career, find you a mentor or someone who's been in the company for a little bit who can kind of walk you on what it's like and maybe give you advice on how your work might be like. That was really helpful, having Nikki as a mentor, and also other female engineers. My manager, for example, she went to the same university as I did. And we have that in common, and also seeing how much she's grown with the company. It's it feels good to see where your company can take you and how other people have grown with it.
And I would say what I noticed raising my daughter, who is now also an engineer, is that as compared to when I was growing up, there was a lot more focus on STEM and exposing young girls to STEM experiences. Girl Scouting puts a big emphasis on that. There are vocational programs at some of the schools now that are engineering focused. So if you're interested in engineering and you're a young woman, try to take advantage of those experiences and see if you like it. And also, always, if you have a chance to do something hands-on, help change the oil or help your dad or your uncle or your brother, repair the washing machine, take advantage of that. And don't shy away from it just because, you're a woman and that's not a woman's job. Get your hands dirty and learn how things work and be curious.
As for me, I think that a woman in an engineering role can feel different on several occasions. Stereotypes exist, but please don't let them define who you are. Women sometimes underestimate themselves and often feel uncomfortable in an environment where there are many men and unconsciously are held back by stereotypes. I would like to encourage to not limit themselves into believing that some rules are meant for men only, and to embrace whatever studies and careers you want. Be self-confident. We all have the fix and point of improvement. The important thing is to recognize them even with with the help of people around us and experience and change accordingly. As Sydney said before, it is also worth saying that it is possible to have both a satisfying career and a fantastic private life. This can be done. It is only a matter of organize our daily life without expecting to do everything, but doing the best we can.
Great advice, fantastic advice. Well, that about wraps up our time together today. So again, I'd like to thank you all for joining us for our Thought Leadership Forum. We hope you enjoyed the event as much as we enjoyed delivering it to you. If you have any additional questions, comments or feedback for Zeeco, please fill out the form on our webpage. We also invite you to submit any topics you would like our experts to discuss in future editions of our Thought Leadership Forum. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our Thought Leadership Forum series and any other upcoming Zeeco events we have planned. We look forward to seeing you all in person very soon. And on behalf of the entire Zeeco family, we wish you a very happy International Women in Engineering Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.